It is no surprise that Kyokai is more than a simple assassin by now. I think she has grown to be the spine of the Heishin unit. If Shin is the face and the one that is always leading the charge, to me Kyokai is the one that lets Shin do his thing without having to worry about anything else. Not only that, but she has evolved into one of Chin's most important leaders. Just like Mobu, just like Osen, just like Shin, Moten, Ohon, she should be known as a symbol of Chin's military might. From the uber talented female lieutenant of the Heishin unit to a general of Chin that is to be feared by everyone across China. But I want to talk about how she got here. How did she become Kingdom's best general? Well, in the early days, her role was quite simple. She only focused on taking out enemies, didn't talk that much. She was a silent killer, if you will. Now, her being a silent killer wasn't just martial might or inhuman sword skills, which she is quite the sword demon. It's the fact that she also has a sneakily high level of intelligence that she has possessed from the very beginning of her character story. But if she was so overpowered and so great, why wouldn't we see that from the very beginning? That's because the only part that was left wanting was her emotional leadership. Whenever she showed that she did care, because she did in the beginning, it was more glimpses and it was more subtle. Which brings us to later on, where did she show growth? At what point did she begin to change? I wouldn't say there was one drastic event that changed her life or made her become the best. Rather, I think Hara did a really good job progressing it. As I always say, the pacing in Kingdom is amazing, and that includes character arcs. So first of all, I want to talk about the Battle of Bayio. Now, during this arc, for the first time, I think, Kyokai hears directly from Shin that the Heishin unit is already a place she can call home. Yes, her revenge is important, but she still has her whole life ahead of her. And when Kyokai thinks about it, she thinks maybe this place isn't bad at all. A slight crack in her current mentality before growing. During the fight with Hogan, with all of that being said before, it is only right that she then does not hesitate to put her life on the line to protect Shin and the Heishin unit. She's choosing to stall this Bushin despite barely being able to breathe. Onto Sanyo. Unlike Bayio, where she only thought about it, Kyokai says it to Shin out loud. She also thinks of the Heishin unit as her home, so much so that she is willing to put off her quest for revenge to fight with them. But once that's done, she resolves that her future is with all of them. We don't always get to see Kyokai cook, besides her insane sword skills, the other stuff. But when we do, it's always cool. While everyone is panicking about being slaughtered in a way smokescreen, of course Kyokai uses this to her advantage. If they make noise themselves, Wei's communication will be ruined and they too will start scrambling. She never disappoints with having her moments. While Shin was dueling Rinko, she was the one holding it down for the rest of the unit. She was the one holding off the Wei infantry, wave after wave continuing to stand strong despite almost losing consciousness. Again, anytime Kyokai prioritizes her position as lieutenant over staying alive to avenge her sister, it always shows growth. It shows that she does believe in a future with the Heishin unit, foreshadowing her eventual path to general. Her revenge arc. Now, if we were to say there was a pivotal point, of course this is the most obvious one. After successfully avenging her sister, she is finally able to move on with the Heishin unit as her main focus. There is nothing stopping her from pursuing the peak of military alone. No longer is she the demon swordswoman of the Heishin unit that doesn't say a single word. She is now fearlessly leading at the front every chance that she gets, being way more outspoken than she ever was before. Instead of waiting to be asked, now she is implementing all of her tactics when she can, going out of her way to constantly adjust on the fly. This makes the Heishin unit offense so much smoother than having to wait for Ten's orders from the backline. Invaluable. And it wouldn't be a good compilation of key battles where she showed growth without talking about Western Shao. A lot of her growth has been emotionally and in respect to her leadership, which is fair, like I said before, because that's where she was lacking. But again, her brain remains huge. Very wrinkled. She was the first one to recognize Osen's locust tactic to take Gyo, but perhaps her greatest display of tenacity of growth is when she held down an entire half of the right wing so well, to the point that she became someone as influential as Shin, to the point that Gyoen implied that she reminded him of a past 6 Great. You're telling me she went from some vengeful assassin to someone with the potential to be a great general, the greatest. Fighting through starvation, she stood strong for her unit. I also find it very impressive that Kyokai was able to garner such a level of loyalty and respect from her unit, her separate unit, that their Go-Riki tactic was able to stunt a charge by China's best cavalry, by the way, the Xiao Horsemen. I will say, it's supposed to be a gag, and it is pretty funny, but it's still so impressive. It's the first tactic we saw from Kyokai that she still clearly uses now. So you could say Kyokai already has a very good case of being Kingdom's best general. But you might be thinking, everyone's shown growth. So where does Kyokai differ? Well, that's where the current arc comes in. Her influence in the Han campaign may be number one, maybe greater than Toe. I'd say she's right there with Shin, because Shin slayed a great general and that cannot be taken away from him. That is by far the number one feat. But she's pretty up there. If Shin had one legendary feat, Kyokai had many very good feats to perhaps match Shin's legendary one. She came up with the psychological tactic for taking the major city of Nanyo without any fighting. That by itself is already insane. She easily defeated one of Han's generals and they're already lacking as it is, so that's not something to scoff at. Having already lost Hakyo Koku, she built major momentum for Shin. That's insult to injury right there. The kill itself wasn't even the best thing about it. She manipulated Shin sneakily and used his tendency to take responsibility to want to take charge to gain herself a general's head. She was able to rouse her troops with minimal words. Honestly, if she just put the flag on and didn't say anything, that might have been enough too. It's a feat that could only be likened to Oki and Rimpa. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it doesn't match Shin, but I think that's legendary in itself what Kyokai did. Again, it's hard to take away Shin's feat of slaying a great general. This brings me to why she matters now, way more now than ever. As someone that I believe will be part of the third generation of the 6 great generals of Shin, it's important to be proficient in all 3 categories. Whether it's martial might, strategy and tactics, or leadership. She's grown to have it all. She might not be instinctual like Shin, but even then, she's shown to be able to react quickly to situations on the battlefield. 1. In terms of martial might, I think it's more important to talk about battlefield presence. I wouldn't go as far as to say aura, but definitely her being so strong and so proficient with the sword creates a Steph Curry type of gravity. It's by far her greatest asset. Honestly, it did not need any work from the beginning of the story. This has always been her number one skill. A couple off-screen kills here and there, she's always valuable. Most of the time, if she had any martial might feats, it was holding off or stalling something. But whenever a kill is on screen, it's very impactful. She'll perform when we need it most. And I'm glad Hara's giving her shine in this current arc. 2. It's not so much that she is intelligent, because she is, and she's very good when it comes to strategy and tactics, but it's that her brain, her contribution mentally, is essential to Shin's grand strategy. The psychological tactic to take Nanyo doesn't stop there. She has contributed so much beyond just her strength that we are so close to being back on the path of unification because of that one feat, because of that one tactic. That by itself, how much she has contributed to the conquest of Han by itself might be great general worthy. And I'll say it again, her emotional leadership. It's because she's grown so much in this category. Yes, a leader does not need to be loud to be a good leader, but she went from someone that didn't speak that much, that was more internal about her feelings for the unit, to constantly showing everyone how much she cares, by continually ramping up the intensity of how far she's willing to play with her life or the unit. It's one hell of a way to outwardly show leadership. But like we saw recently, it is nice to be loud and especially be hype sometimes. All in all, if we never get a major Kyokai arc, I'm happy that she got at least a lot of shine in this current Conquest of Han arc. I say this because even though she has had her own couple minor arcs, she might be due for a major arc after this performance. Though it isn't a story about Kyokai, so I'm fine if we don't get that. But there may be an arc where it's only her and Shin as the great generals that are leading the campaign, or at least the battle, serving alongside each other like Oki and Kyo did, Commander-in-Chief, Vice Commander. That is something that I would like to see. If you made it to the end, thank you for tuning in. It would mean a lot to me if you guys left a like and a comment, share this video with a friend, and subscribe for more videos like this.